When I returned from a business trip abroad, my own house had been expanded into a two-family home without my consent. Please pay $2,000. I'm moving tomorrow. Huh? This action constitutes trespassing on the property, and we may seek damages through legal proceedings. Please be prepared for that. I was finally able to convey what I had been holding inside. My name is Lily. I'm a 35-year-old company employee. I work in a multinational company and hold a position often referred to as a career woman. In addition to that, I'm also a mother raising a 5-year-old girl named Alice. Balancing work and childcare is indeed very challenging. I understand the importance of relying on others, but it's not always easy to make it work. I used to rely on my husband, Dave, the most, but our marriage has become somewhat unstable. The previous Dave was dedicated to his work and would often take the initiative in household chores, saying, "Should I help with housework?" I used to love those qualities about him, his thoughtfulness and kindness. However, Dave's personality changed suddenly due to the impact of a disease that spread in society, which led to his company going bankrupt and him becoming unemployed. Can't you at least help out around the house, instead of lazing around every day? Housework is a woman's job, isn't it? I'm busy with job hunting. I'm busy with work too, and we have Alice to take care of, you know? Even after having such conversations, he didn't listen, and it's been 3 years since he became unemployed. Doorbell rings. I had a bad feeling about it. "Oh, hello, Lily," she said. "This lady is my husband's mother, Keela. Since her husband passed away a year ago, she's been coming to our house often. Of course, it's perfectly fine for her to visit our house. She must get lonely on her own, and it's reassuring to check on her well-being and make sure she hasn't had any accidents or fallen inside the house. However, her visits have become quite frequent lately, occurring about every 3 days. In the past, we had a good relationship, and she helped take care of Alice, our daughter. However, since Dave became unemployed, Keela started focusing solely on him and neglected Alice, which was different from how things used to be. Lily, I brought Dave's favorite dish today, so please have it for dinner. I've put it in the refrigerator for you, Keela said, opening the fridge and placing the Tupperware container inside. Keela brings food every time, seemingly to take a jab at me, knowing that I'm not very skilled at cooking. She rearranges things in the fridge, touches them, checks expiration dates, and constantly nags about it. While it's true that I could be better at managing these things, I feel uncomfortable when someone touches and rearranges my things without permission. I felt like shouting, "This is my house." But I held back, and Keela began cleaning the room again today. Lily! The bathtub drain is so dirty here. Haven't you cleaned it since I last did? I'm sorry. I just haven't had time for everything. That won't do. These are normal chores for a wife, you know? I'll take care of it today. When she said that, I had no choice but to say, "Thank you." In truth, I didn't want to express gratitude at all, but I could see that if I didn't, she would continue to nitpick and bring it up again. Lily, you hardly do any housework, just focusing on your job all the time. And yet, you act all high and mighty. It's unpleasant, you know? Your role as a wife isn't just your job. I work to support our household and raise our beloved daughter, and I'm already at my limits. Yet, I'm also financially supporting my husband. Despite all this, Keela's words got to me, and my body trembled with anxiety. Keela finished cleaning and seemed to have completed her task as she relaxed on the sofa, eating rice crackers. Oh, by the way, there's something I'd like to talk to you about. Could you please sit down? Sure. Alice, come over here. I was a bit surprised by Keela's sudden serious expression and called Aoi, who had been playing, over to us. You see, being alone at my house is a bit tough for me. If it's okay with you, can I stay here? Huh? Does that mean Keela is suggesting we live together? My mind starts to spin. It's like trying to catch up when your head is spinning too fast. My husband is gone too, and being alone in that house is so lonely. I've been coming here often, and I thought it might be easier if I just lived here. Besides, Lily, you might find household chores a bit easier with me around. In other words, she's hinting that she wants to live here because it's too bothersome for her to keep coming over. This is not a joke. I give my husband a pleading look, silently begging him to oppose this. Isn't it okay? I'm worried about leaving Mom alone, and Lily has a busy job. Mom can handle the housework, right? I felt disheartened. That's not it. I was foolish to expect otherwise. Dave simply doesn't want to do anything. It seems that with just the two of us, he gets asked to take care of household chores quite a bit, and he just wants to avoid that. Is it okay if we have Keela do the housework? There's no way I can entrust that to her. In fact, I might end up feeling more stressed, trying to accommodate her. This house is small, and there's no place for your mother-in-law to sleep. Sleeping on this hard flooring would be uncomfortable, and I think living together in this house would be challenging. Oh, it's perfectly fine. I've already ordered a futon, and it should arrive tomorrow. I don't mind not having a room. Can I borrow this sofa for today? Huh? Starting today? Yes, indeed. I brought some changes of clothes, though it's just a few. Alice, from today on, Grandma will be here with you. She gave off an atmosphere that suggested our conversation was over and started talking to Alice. It seems like Keela has already decided to live here. I couldn't oppose it, and I'm not in favor of it, but Keela is moving in the direction of living together. The day came suddenly. A week later, I was approached by my company for an overseas business trip. This trip seemed likely to be long-term, and they were offering me company accommodation there. Honestly, living with Keela had been tough, and I felt relieved at the thought of getting away from that house. However, my biggest concern was my daughter. I didn't want to leave the responsibility of taking care of my daughter to either my husband, who wasn't involved in childcare, or Keela. When I returned home that day, Keela and husband were still lounging on the sofa as usual. Since we started living together, Keela didn't do all the housework. She only did things like cooking or cleaning when she felt like it, often claiming she couldn't do certain tasks. If there were no groceries, she asked someone to buy them, and when she didn't feel like it, she simply relaxed on the sofa, doing nothing. I seated Aoi on the sofa as well and began, I have something important to tell you. I'm going on a business trip, abroad in a week, and it seems like it will be an extended stay. I see. I see. Understood. Leave both the house and Alice to me. No, I'm planning to take Alice with me, I replied. What are you saying? Taking a child overseas like this is unthinkable. You're going for work, right? Do you really think you can properly take care of a child in such a situation? They have an education system there as well. The company said it's fine to bring the child. It's not a problem. So, what do you think? I asked Dave, to which he replied, either way is fine, isn't it? I was shocked. He seemed to have abandoned any thought about our child. I asked, Alice, do you want to go abroad with Mommy for a little while, or stay here with Daddy? Which one do you prefer? Alice looked puzzled, but after looking at the three of us, she seemed to make up her mind. She said, I want to go with Mommy. I hugged Alice, relieved by her decision. Japanese education is much better. You'll regret it, Lily, she said. Alice and I set off abroad. Somehow, we spent about a year overseas, and when we returned to Japan after the long business trip, my daughter and I would face a shocking turn of events. What's this? The house we had lived in until now had changed its appearance and had been expanded into a two-family home. I hesitated to enter, wondering if this might not be my home, and pressed the intercom. "Yes, welcome back." "It's been a while, Alice," came a voice from the house. Out walked Dave, looking plump and round with his pajamas on. Despite having clearly communicated my return date and time, it was evident that he had been living a lazy lifestyle. I was surprised by Dave's transformation, but in the end, it seemed he had been lazing around without working and probably eating the meals prepared by my idle mother-in-law. It was easy to imagine that Keela had been cooking whatever Dave liked without worrying about balanced nutrition. While Dave barely managed to call out Alice's name, it seemed like he had no interest in me, so I responded in kind. "What's going on with this house?" I asked. "Well, let's sit down and talk about it," he replied. While on the sofa, just like before, Keela was eating rice cakes. "Welcome back, Lily." "And Alice," she said. "We just returned, and right away. What's going on with this house?" I asked. Once inside the house, it became clear that the interior had been renovated as well. New furniture was quite noticeable. "I had it renovated to make it more comfortable for you. I remember you weren't too thrilled about me moving in before, right? So, I added a room for myself and renovated the whole place." "What do you think?" Keela said. "What do I think?" In the end, it seemed like she had just renovated it to suit her own comfort. "Here's the bill for the renovation costs, $102,000, make sure to pay it, haha. I'm moving out tomorrow." "Huh? What do you mean by moving out?" "We're going back overseas. This time, we were just temporarily in Japan. So, tomorrow, the moving company will come here to handle the move. Therefore, I won't be living here and I won't be paying for the renovation costs. And, there might be some repair costs that we'll ask you for." "Eh? What?" It seems like they're lost for words due to this sudden revelation. "I'll explain one by one. What would you like to know first?" "What do you mean by not paying the costs?" "This house should be under your name." "That's correct, it's mine. This house was built before I married Dave. Therefore, it's entirely mine. So, I can do whatever I want with it, and no one can complain. Even in terms of property division, it falls outside the scope. This house is supposed to be sold. There was already a buyer lined up, and what you've done constitutes fraud. I won't pay a single cent to the one who tampered with what belongs to me," I stated firmly. If things have gone this far, I can't stay silent any longer. Dave seemed to be in a daze, and it wasn't clear whether he was even listening. Perhaps he couldn't keep up with the conversation. The house I had before was a dream come true for me. In my 20s, when I had an interest in architecture, I wanted to design it myself, so I persuaded an acquaintance to help me build it. It was a time when I was young and eager to take on any challenge. Because it was designed by my younger self, there were some inconvenient aspects in places, but that's what gave it character. Afterward, I worked tirelessly and managed to pay off all the loans on that house. The decision to sell the house came from seeing people succeed and excel overseas. I learned that an acquaintance was looking for a house, and I felt a strong desire to support someone who was working hard, just as I had been supported when I was younger. That's why I decided that if selling this house could be of any help to the buyer, it would be a good decision. I didn't want it to be used for people who were simply being lazy or irresponsible. "What do you mean by selling? Why are you saying such cold things? We are going to live abroad. How many times do I have to tell you that we've decided to sell this house to someone else? We are still a family, right? I did this, thinking of your best interests. No, we are not a family anymore. What do you mean by, we are not a family anymore? Did you receive the documents? Don't you even check your mail? It's the divorce papers. You knew we couldn't continue as a married couple, right? How long do you plan to live off my money? Even while I was on my business trip abroad, I continued to financially support this house. When I reconsidered why I was doing this, I sent the completed divorce papers to Dave. For that purpose, I consulted with a lawyer and communicated with them several times. I had grown weary of my husband Dave, but what sealed the deal was the presence of Keila. If Dave had been willing to become a stay-at-home dad, there might have been some room for consideration. However, Dave remained Keela's child indefinitely, unable to fully grow up and separate from his mother. And, of course, I have custody of Alice. She wants to start elementary school overseas, so we plan to continue living abroad. No way! I'm not getting divorced. No, you will get a divorce. How much of my money do you think you've been using? You haven't fulfilled your role as a husband or a father. If you have any complaints, please go through a lawyer. Write the divorce papers, or else it will go to court. Trial? It seemed that the word trial took him by surprise, and he quickly signed the divorce papers. Do you have any more questions? The sudden turn of events left both of them in shock. Kyla, oh, I should call you Ms. Smith now. As I mentioned earlier, this house is being sold, so you and Dave need to vacate this house within the next 3 days. Otherwise, it will be considered trespassing. What? Then where are we supposed to live? We sold our own house before building this one. I never expected them to have given up their own family home just to move into this house. How audacious can they be? I don't know about that. I'm no longer a part of this family. Regarding this house, as I've mentioned before, your unauthorized modifications may constitute property infringement, and I might consider seeking damages in a court case, so be prepared for that. Of course, I won't have any involvement with the expansion you've done. Thank you for your understanding. These words left both of them looking pale. Today, I need to go submit the documents for selling this house and the divorce papers, so for now, I'll take my leave. I successfully completed the move and selling the house. Keila remained defiant to the end, insisting, "This is my house." In the end, it was Dave who had to carry her away to resolve the situation peacefully. During the sale of the house, when I reported the changes made to it, they initially called the renovations a waste. However, because the number of rooms had increased, they agreed to purchase it at a slightly higher price. It seems they took into consideration that some parts of the house weren't used much. I'm glad the value didn't decrease. In the end, the divorce and the sale of the house went smoothly without the need for a court battle. As a result, both Keila and Dave were left with a 15 million yen debt, and they lost their house and savings. Dave is currently staying with Keela's sister, but given their lack of financial resources and the existing debt, it seems they might face eviction sooner or later. After being formally assigned to an overseas assignment by my company, my daughter Alice and I returned to Japan temporarily before heading back abroad. I was concerned about how Alice would adapt to different customs and languages, having come from Japan, but she managed to overcome it without any issues. Children seem to be quite adaptable. My work overseas has been going smoothly, and I've been doing my best with childcare. People here are very cooperative when it comes to childcare, and they provide support so I don't have to shoulder it all on my own. I've been able to arrange mostly remote work, which allows me to spend more time with Alice. On our days off, we also have the flexibility to enjoy some leisure time together. The way of working here is different from Japan, with a focus on efficiency over long hours. While this has its advantages and disadvantages, I believe that we can address the downsides as we move forward. I'm happy that I had the courage to choose to live overseas, and it's a decision I don't regret.